down to breakfast in your jammies if you so wish. You're on longer time. Well, I can tell you one person I know who would have appeared down at breakfast in her jammies with a glass of champagne in her hand, and that would have been Pauline Young. And she was an extraordinary lady. That sort of visual scene almost summarises her character. She was booked to come and join us here, but sadly died at the end of last summer after a rather long battle with cancer. Many of you will remember her, I suspect, from virtually every polar gathering over the last 15 or 20 years. She was a remarkable lady. I don't know that I ever really put her life story together, but she'd been brought up in the Plymouth Brethren for many, many years, a very strict sect, as I'm sure you know, but had managed to break away from that. And her vivaciousness, her joy of life, her generosity of spirit sort of shone through all the time. But in a way, I don't know if she ever lost the sort of deep faith she acquired as a very young person. And I think she found that peace of God in the silence of the Antarctic, as my own great uncle had done before. And so she fell in love with the polar regions when she went down there. So many of us have done as well. But Pauline wasn't a woman who ever did things by heart. I would never have liked to have been on the wrong side of her, because she was very, very determined in her actions when she became dedicated to a cause. And she became very dedicated to the Antarctic, as she did to the women's rights in Zimbabwe and various other causes. She was always working for numerous projects and causes at the same time. But in the Antarctic, she became a formidable and generous benefactor to virtually every polar charity, from the appeal to save the huts in the Antarctic through to the Friends of the Scott Polar Research Institute, which I think must be where I met her. I kind of think of Pauline as a woman who must have appeared in my life in a great cloud of chaos and champagne bubbles somehow, but I don't think it really was quite like that. So she just sort of emerged into my life, and suddenly she was totally essential, and nothing could happen without her, because she was always working so hard for things. She was very quickly on the committee of Friends when I was chairman. And she used to do everything. She'd do anything from the dishes. You'd suddenly find her quietly washing up and tidying up behind everybody. But at the same time, she was coming up with brilliant fundraising ideas and very often leading from the front in a lot of those activities as well. And then later on, as we moved on from the Friends to other organisations, she was always still busy, always there supporting things. If you needed help, if you needed something doing, Pauline was always somebody you could turn to. She was always there for you in a crisis, or if you had a particular problem. And it didn't matter how difficult or how challenging her own life was. And towards the end, certainly, it was very challenging indeed. Her husband, Bob, who had been dedicated to one another for many years, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and that became increasingly challenging over the last couple of years. And she became ward of court as well as a protectress for her grandson, who she was bringing up as well. So she had an increasingly great challenge from her husband at the same time as she was trying to bring up a 7-8-year-old boy, and dedicated to both of them. But she didn't give up on all the other things that she was doing. If I tell you that she virtually produced all of the Scott Centenary souvenirs, apart from the ones produced in the Natural History Museum herself, she designed them, she got hold of the companies to manufacture them, she paid for them out of her own pocket and took the financial risk on them. You'll see what sort of lady she was. She didn't ever require any praise for any of that at all. But so much of that sort of side of the Scott Centenary when it happened was entirely down to Pauline. And it was literally, I had coffee and she said, "How are things going with Scott Centenary?" And I said, "Well, it's fine, but we're having a few things here and I don't quite know what to do." And she said, "Don't worry, I'll deal with it." And it was the same sort of thing. We'd go out for lunch, and she'd say, "Well, how's that book coming on?" I'd say, "Oh, it's fine. I've got David Attenborough coming to launch it." I said, "I don't know what to do. We need some kind of a reception." "Don't worry, I'll organise it." And all the reception and the food and the drinks and everything else was all organised so that I didn't have to worry about any of the logistics or cost or anything like that. She was extraordinarily generous in that way. There was a gentleman from the West Country who rang me up about, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, who produced a Scott game, which is supposed to be absolutely marvellous. I haven't actually played it myself, but Pauline went down and played it several times with him, decided to produce it, was putting up £10,000 of her own money in order to produce this game and market it and help raise money for Scott Polar and various, and I think it was Scott Polar that she was going to raise the money for with that one, just at the point that she died, so that project sort of died with her, because there was nobody else willing to put up £10,000 of their own money for that kind of a commercial gamble. So in a way I feel as if I'd lost a right hand or a left hand or something, because Pauline's suddenly not there anymore. And yet in an extraordinary way, she's here with us this evening, I know, and she'd be absolutely the life and soul of the party if she was here. She'd be wearing a great brightly coloured, glamorous dress of some description and drinking champagne to challenge anyone here under the table, I'm quite sure. So would you all stand and remember with me our dear friend and fellow Antarctican, Pauline Young.